Plaintiff Christopher Barron was friends with the defendants, and after a breakup, they invited him to go on a trip. Christopher claims while on the trip, the defendants spent more time getting high and eating than sightseeing, and he's suing them for the cost of a hotel room, credit card charges, and a loan. Defendants Amber Salmo and her fiancé, Dustin Cornelius, say while on the trip, Christopher smoked cigarettes constantly, even though he has asthma. As a result, Amber claims he spent a good portion of the trip in the hospital, and she insists Christopher is suing for more than they owe.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
Yes, Your Honor. They asked me to go on a trip with them because I had just gone through a major breakup at the time, and they were already planning on going on a family vacation. However, they were short on cash, and they asked me to pay for the cost of the hotel, which I did on my credit card. And they said because...
Cost of all the rooms, your room and theirs?
We just had one room, which had...
All three of you all staying in?
Correct.
Together?
And 2 children.
Oh, I'm glad you said 2 children were there. All right. Otherwise, my mind was turning.
Mine too.
Yeah, you 3 grown adults sleeping in one bed.
Well, there were the main bedroom, and then outside had 2 beds, a pull-out couch, and another bed.
All right, you got to tell me something. Okay, you just can't tell me that this crew invited you to the hotel and you paid, and there's only one room, 3 of y'all, and you all walked up flimsily dressed.
Yeah, there was one.
Were you all were flimsily dressed?
No.
Oh.
No, Your Honor.
You said yeah. No, but so how was it to stay there at the hotel together?
Most of the trip, going from day to day, just felt like they got high way too often and were either ignoring me or just wanting to go in line to food.
You,
or going to food.
Leave all that alone, sir. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yeah, or we were getting in line to go get more food every 90 minutes rather than going on the rides. I just felt like it was just very irritating that was most of the trip, was just getting in line to go to food rather than go on the rides, or see the attractions, which is what we were there for in the first place.
Let me hear you all's characterization of what's going on here.
I planned a trip for my children. It was specifically to take my kids to see the San Diego Zoo and SeaWorld and Knott's Berry Farm. We invited him to join us. I had already paid for all of the park tickets, and we just wanted to offer him, to join us.
He had a crisis in his life.
Exactly. It was a very bad time for him. He was staying in my house. I did feel bad that he was in a bad situation, and I genuinely tried to spend the trip making him feel better. We went to the hospital because he would continually smoke cigarettes throughout the trip, even though he has extreme asthma. And I had to leave my kids in a hotel room.
They had to take you to the hospital for going against your health condition. And you talking about what you didn't enjoy and what they did to you. Go ahead.
That was the turning point for me as far as whether or not I felt comfortable with him anymore as a friend, because to take away from what we were already doing. And we move very fast as a family. We are 4 of us. We work well as a team. For our vacations, we keep going, and we do, move from one instance to another. And there were many instances where it was, I'm waiting for him and then trying to get to my family and things like that. And it was very difficult for me to manage someone who didn't have any awareness of what was going on around him. Like, there were tourists waiting to take pictures and he would be standing there taking 50. There would be somebody waiting to use something and he would be taking up all of the walkway space. And it was very embarrassing for me because we travel and we go a lot, and my kids know single file line, listen to mom, let's go. So it was very difficult at that point. And essentially, I was experiencing a lot of anxiety throughout that trip, but I tried to maintain for my children.
Yeah, let me say, sir, you sound like you're a little self-absorbed. the way what she's describing. You have no concern of your surroundings, you're taking pictures, you don't care if it's interfering with people. That's common courtesy. Most people make sure that nobody's either, they stop or do something or get out of the way, what have you. She said you didn't have common courtesy toward others. She said, and no, you said they were ignoring me. They weren't giving me enough attention. And you disrupt her trip to take you to the hospital because you're doing something that would definitely trigger hospitalization for a person with your condition, and that's asthma. So I got to make that observation that not only did they not ignore you, you hurt part of the opportunity for her and her family to thoroughly enjoy themselves because she had to interrupt her trip to give you the attention you desired. Did you smoke those cigarettes intentionally just to get some attention?
I did not, Your Honor. Outside had 2 beds, a pull-out couch, and another bed.
All right, you got to tell me something. Okay, you just can't tell me that this crew, and there's only one room, 3 of y'all, and you all walked up flimsily dressed.
Yeah, there was one.
You all were flimsily dressed?
No.
Oh.
No, Your Honor.
You said yeah.
Plaintiff Christopher Barron says he went on a trip to an amusement park with the defendants, but he claims they spent more time getting high and eating than riding the rides.
Did you smoke cigarettes extensively knowing that you have a condition?
I did smoke cigarettes.
What, you gonna blame them, right? Because they caused anxiety. She gave you anxiety because you weren't getting attention. Why did you smoke so many cigarettes?
I had just gone through a terrible breakup, Your Honor, and they knew that.
All right.
And I hadn't been smoking for the last 4 years before that.
All right. I give you a pass on the breakup.
I have not smoked since.
Good.
I did stop.
Okay.
However, going back to what she said about, making people wait for me or not ignoring me, they were high most of the time, so how can they even...
That high off what?
High off marijuana.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what?
So
they were on vacation. Were they driving high off marijuana? Were they smoking marijuana on the street? Were they even smoking it in front of their children?
No.
So you didn't make them look bad. You make yourself look bad. Looks like you were reaching to find something bad about the folks that you think the judge would say, oh, they were smoking weed. No, I'm gonna say, what kind was it? That's what I'm like. Was it the purple haze? How did it smell? Did it smell like that indigo?
Yeah, they were eating edibles most of the time, but like I said,
Sticky Wicky?
That's what it made.
What was it?
That's what made the problem most of the time. She was trying to say that I was causing a disruption to her family vacation. She had to spend time on me, taking away from them. But it was herself taking away from her own family vacation by being high and not paying attention to her own family because she was too self-absorbed on the fact that she was high. And she did take me to the hospital because I had no asthma suppressant left in my medication. And I didn't know that was going to be a problem until it became a problem.
Now, does it affect your thoughts when you have that type of incident? Emergency in terms of the asthma and the cigarettes? Does it affect your thoughts too? Because I wouldn't imagine letting someone who gets high all the time, who stays high, driving me under an emergency to the hospital.
Right, Your Honor.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. You keep denigrating her character of acting as if smoking weed was something that disrupted the vacation. It didn't disrupt her taking you to the hospital. And I'm sure she probably, I don't get the impression, she sat there and smoked weed in front of her children.
No, sir.
All right. So I'm through with that,
Your Honor.
sir. How does you have anything else to say?
I would like to add that it's always been really important to me that my kids have good influences in their life. And part of the reason that I have an issue at this point with Chris is because he's not somebody that I don't want them to be like him when they grow up, and I certainly don't want my son to take after him. They have similarities in their personality, and he does things that are very disrespectful to other human beings, and whatever disruption I might have caused him by imbibing legally in California, I never took away from my children. I fell asleep on the beach on the last day like every parent ever has. They're 9 and 10. It was completely fine. My kids were never suffering. They were never without my attention, and I've never lacked providing for them. This vacation was for them. The thousands I've spent was for them, and I invited him to join us because I thought it would be an asset to our trip, and it did turn out to not be.
So I got to make that observation that not only did they not ignore you, you hurt part of the opportunity for her and her family to thoroughly enjoy themselves because she had to interrupt her trip to give you the attention you desired. Did you smoke those cigarettes intentionally just to get some attention?
I did not, Your Honor.
Plaintiff Christopher Barron says he went on a trip to an amusement park with the defendants, but he claims they spent more time getting high and eating than riding the rides.
And why are you suing? How do they owe for a loan and hotel cost?
Hotel because of the fact that they were low on cash at the time and they had lost the room they had, and they asked me...
This is before going?
Yeah, this is before going. And they asked me that if I had bought the hotel room, that they would pay for everything else after that. That was included on the trip, including fuel, any extras at the parks or the zoo, everything.
Entrance fees for the zoo and parks as well?
Entrance fees had already been paid, most of them by her already.
All right, so let's get back to the deal that you cut. You would pay for all the hotel fees, and you would get what in exchange? You would get a free ride?
In exchange, she said she would reimburse me because I was saving the family vacation that she was going on and that she had invited me for because I had gone through a bad breakup and she wanted to get me out of that headspace.
Let's get back to the deal, though, the agreement. It sounds like you're telling me that you made an agreement that you would pay for all the hotel expenses in exchange for her paying for all the other vacation expenses. Was that the agreement or not? What was the agreement? You can only
Correct.
sue based on agreements being breached. So first you got to start with an agreement. Can you clarify that a little bit?
Yeah, the agreement was that since I was saving their vacation by getting the hotel room on my credit card, that they would pay back any other charges on my credit card for anything like souvenirs, gas, any extras at the theme parks that we went to, everything else after.
All other costs associated with the trip that are put onto your card.
Correct.
With the exception of the hotel.
Correct, Your Honor.
So what's the loan? Let's go there. You refer to a loan in your claim.
The loan was for after we had gotten back, we had gone to a craft store and to Walmart, and she didn't have the money to be able to get it herself. And she asked me if I would loan her the money to be able to buy a sewing machine and for class supplies at a craft store. So she
what? Man, you switched up on me at a crack store.
Craft.
Oh,
Like
arts and crafts. Okay, go ahead.
An arts and crafts store.
You know, I think of crack in a minute. Unfortunately, then the doctor told me I'm crack traumatized. He said, you need to go see what you are so obsessed with crack addicts for. So I went and talked to the people. They said, oh, yeah, Mr. Mathis, we understand now. I said, well, do you want me to come every week or every month like the other therapists have their clients? He said, no need for you to come. I can just tell you what your problem is right now. Is that you just didn't do it. Too many crack crises and traumas in your life from friends and relatives around you who you've seen their lives destroyed and halfway destroyed. That's your problem. I said, well, what do I do? They said, just keep saying crackhead. That's the best therapy. They said, because every time you say that, that's a form of therapy. I'm only mentally stable if I'm able to talk about crack. Because I got crack trauma. And whenever you have trauma in your life, you have to be able to talk it out.
Stress relief.
Right.
Yeah.
So I talk it out with y'all. And that's been my therapy. So that's the only reason I mentioned crack. But you said craft.
Yes, arts and crafts. And on page 44 is an Instagram post where she posted about it.
44, she posted saying what?
She had said her day started out really, really rough, but because of spending time with me and her kids, and the car being okay really turned it around. She was able to buy crafting stuff for the first time in forever, which touched her on the inside, and she's going to bed happy.
Okay.
So right there, she says, because of me, and that's because I had loaned her the money to be able to get those craft supplies so she could make masks,
Her happiness
blankets.
to you on that. All right. What has been your response that you've been getting since you've asked for your money?
Since asking for the money back, there have been several attempts to give me the money back, and then there would just come an excuse in the form of couldn't be this week, couldn't be this month, because this happened with the car or something else, possibly losing the apartment. But she would go ahead and smoke like a half a gram of weed wax, and that costs anywhere between like $30 and $40 a day. And she would do that every day. And so then I'm like thinking about that, and I'm calculating in my head.
Then, if she's doing it every day like that.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there and I'm calculating that in my head. I'm like, well, if you're smoking that often per day, spending that amount of money,
right,
how is it possible that you couldn't even give me $25, $50 a week, something to start paying that back?
I'm only mentally stable if I'm able to talk about crack. Because I got crack trauma. And whenever you have trauma in your life, you have to be able to talk it out.
Stress relief.
Right.
Yeah.
So I talk it out with y'all. And that's been my therapy. So that's the only reason I mentioned crack. But you said craft.
Yes, arts and crafts.
Plaintiff Christopher Barron says he went on a trip to an amusement park with the defendants, but he claims they spent more time getting high and eating than riding the rides.
Ma'am, let me hear from you on that part. One, the agreement. Let's start there. And
Yes.
then I'll let you clean your reputation up that he kind of is taking a little hit with him saying that you are addicted to marijuana wax.
I
which is
appreciate
the
the
case. If a
opportunity.
person's spending $30, $40 every day to use marijuana wax, I believe they are addicted, and it is destructive to them as well, like alcohol.
And I would agree with you, sir. Absolutely. That is not how much I spend at all. That's not my consumption level or the amount of money that I spend. And I will elaborate on that in a moment. The agreement that we had was that because I was falling short, I had missed a couple of days of work, again, attending to his needs because of his breakup. I had missed a couple of days of work and I was falling short. So I asked him, since you're coming on the trip and we need a bigger hotel room, can you put the hotel room in your name and pay for that? And then I will pay for everything else on the trip. That was the agreement. When we were there, he charged things to his card that I also agreed to pay. I said, if you put it on your card for this trip, it references to my kids or for this trip, I will pay for that. And then the loan, I absolutely borrowed that money. I've never denied that. My sewing machine broke. It's an important part of who I am as a person to sew, and not being able to was hard. So I appreciate very much that he gave me that opportunity. I still use that machine almost every week. It is an important part of my life, and I appreciate that. We spend approximately $10 to $15 a day for both of us to smoke weed. Sometimes we go 3 or 4 days without being able to smoke at all. Our budget for weed is approximately $100 a week.
$100 a week?
Yes.
That's a lot of weed.
For 2 people. And we live in Vegas. The average gram is $40. It's not cheap to buy weed where we live. If I was
what does
buying
a joint cost now?
If you wanted to buy a joint,
raise and roll a joint, and
you can find one between $10 and $50 depending on how strong it is. We usually get ones that are about $17.
And it's up to $50 for a joint.
Absolutely, sir.
So even if we break it down to the perhaps close to the lowest, that's $15 a joint.
That's we don't usually smoke joints. He's right. We do smoke wax, but it breaks up longer. Like a $20 gram of wax will last me 4 days.
Yeah, well, telling people to relax. If they don't want to drink wine at night, then relax and smoke a joint. But weed is too much then. You know, the joint costs that much to relax. Ain't that much relaxing in the world.
I'm so sorry.
$50.
Yeah, $50 a night to relax.
I just had
Another
one more.
way to do that. Pardon?
I just wanted one more clarification, Judge. I'm sorry. Our consumption has significantly dropped since I stopped working. We don't stop completely, but we don't do it every day.
Oh.
It's much more of a part-time thing as we no longer have the funds.
Okay. No, you seem very functional, very productive, whatever. So do what you want, as long as you can take care of yourself and your bills. So you don't disagree with any of the debts he's suing
I
for?
do. The hotel room, he said he would pay for the hotel room.
In exchange for?
Me paying for all of the tickets and all of the entrances and all of his food.
And the charges.
That agreement came while we were on the trip. That's not what I initially agreed to.
Right, but ultimately you did.
Ultimately, yes.
And so why wouldn't him paying for the hotel be offset by you paying the charges like was agreed to?
Because he stayed in the hotel room and then benefited from thousands of dollars of admission.
But the agreement was that...
He would pay for the hotel.
And that you all would all stay in it.
Yes, and that we would also pay for everything else, which we did.
And that came on his credit card, everything else.
Not everything else, sir. No, sir. I have thousands of dollars in my checking account that I paid.
What came onto his credit card
Souvenirs.
as a result of the trip?
Souvenirs, a
How
couple
much?
of gas tanks, and cigarettes.
All right.
That I
And the loan was for the sewing machine.
The loan was for the sewing machine, yes, sir.
All right. Sir, she's disputing the hotel. And she's right. Isn't that what you told me the agreement was? You paid
Yes,
for
the
the hotel.
agreement
and
was
you paid for
to-
the extras. That's what she said. So how are you now suing her for hotel?
It's not just the hotel.
No, why are you suing her for the hotel at all? If the agreement based on what you said and what she said was that you would pay all of the hotel.
Correct.
Why are you now suing her for it?
Because I feel she's in breach of the agreement because she hasn't paid me even one dime since then. She just kept coming with excuse after excuse of why she couldn't. And then her final excuse or ultimatum actually was on page 5, where she told me, I can afford to send you $100 a month, but the amount you quoted does not match the receipts or tracking sheet I have. I won't have it repeated back and forth, though. Either that payment plan or I'll countersue for the tickets, meals, and such will be paid for as well. I was going through a very hard time. We didn't have the money to pay our bills. We're now caught up and not desperately trying to keep our car or home. $100 a month for the next 24 months, or we can take it to court.
Plaintiff Christopher Barron says he went on a trip to an amusement park with the defendants, but he claims they spent more time getting high and eating than riding the rides.
Well, sir, what I heard you say is that the reason you believe she should now pay hotel fees that was not part of the agreement, it was the direct opposite of the agreement, is because she breached the contract. Well, you don't go back and change an agreement when a contract is breached. You just pay damages for the breach. And the damages here are the expenses she was supposed to pay as part of your deal. So you got to maintain your end of the bargain and sue for her part. So I'm going to grant you your judgment, but I'm going to subtract 777, which is the hotel. Have a good day, folks.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I don't know.
I don't feel that I'm a bad person for your children, and I know you know that's true too.
I hope you find peace. I hope that you learn to love yourself, and I am very glad that you won't be there to affect my children because I disagree with you immensely on that. Have a good day.